Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everybody, how are you today? I hope you are all fine. Halo semuanya, selamat pagi ya. Bagaimana kabarnya pada pagi hari ini atau pada hari ini? Semoga kabarnya baik-baik saja ya. Amin. In this occasion, I would like to share about an essay, yeah, and this essay is based on a popular novel, ya. Jadi pada kesempatan kali ini saya akan berbagi tentang essay ya, sebuah essay di mana essay ini berdasarkan sebuah novel ya yang terkenal, and this novel entitles The Children of the New Forest ya. Jadi judul dari novel ini ya yang dijadikan sebuah essay atau dijadikan shortnya essay ini adalah The Children of the New Forest, written by Captain Frederick Marryat ya. Jadi untuk penulis dari novel ini yaitu Captain Frederick Marryat. Well, everyone, before we start to the topic today, yeah, it is better for us to initiate our meeting today by reciting basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much. Oke, kita mulai saja ya. Anise, the children of the New Forest as a bright source of education for children, based on The Children of the New Forest by Captain Frederick Marryat. By the time children get older, they do not need like fairy tale or pinky stories anymore. Writers then provide children with more challenging and complicated stories which make children think harder. It doesn't mean that children have to read by themselves. Sometimes there are some novels which are not easy to read by children. However, it can be read by parents, then they can convey the story and the moral value to their children. One of the genres is adventure story. Adventure genre provides many experiences that are certainly full of struggles and findings. Such experiences are presented to entertain and at the same time teach children about life skills, which include moral values, patience, willingness to struggle, idealism, and getting or learning strategies to cope with difficulties. One of writers is Captain Frederick Marryat. His novel is The Children of the New Forest is known as adventure genre. The adventure genre of The Children of the New Forest remains a right source of education for children. According to Tassy's statement, theory that is proper to analyze The Children of the New Forest is pragmatic theory. Pragmatic theory is connection between work and audience. Reader response criticism encompasses various approaches to literature that explore and seek to explain the diversity of readers' responses to literary works. Reader response criticism analyzes the effect of the text on the reader. Meaning can only exist when the reader and text interact. The text alone doesn't have meaning. There are three rules of reader response criticism. For example, readers do not add anything to the text, do not ignore parts of the text, and they do not change parts of the text. Reading is a transaction between reader and text. The text affects the reader, and the reader affects the text. People who support reader response criticism are Wolfgang Iser, Stanley Fish, Norman Holland, Hans Robert Jers, Roland Barthes, Louis Rosenblatt, and Stuart Hall. According to Stuart Hall, 1980, There is a theory of reader response that is called reception theory. Reception theory states that the media texts are encoded by the producer. They are loaded with values and messages. However, the texts are then encoded by spectators. Different spectators will decode the text in different ways, according to how audience members adopt one of three positions when they decode the text. They are dominant or preferred reading, oppositional reading, and negotiated reading. Negotiated reading, negotiated reading. Negotiated reading is a compromise between the dominant and oppositional reading, where the audience accepts parts of the producer's views but has their own views on parts as well. First education that the readers get from the novel is about nature. They will know that nature provides many things for humans to survive. They can know that nature is a very important thing in this life because without her, human, even all creatures cannot live in this world. Nature provides water, food, air, shelter, and so on. They will respect more to the nature. For example, if there are news in the newspaper, television, or internet about a group of people who burn forests to make land for planting mangrove tree, they will disagree with that action because it destroys nature. In the beginning, children just think that those things are just usual things. Through the children of the new forest, they have a meaning that humans have to maintain nature because nature is an important part of the world. In this novel, children receive a Rosalian practical education. Edward and his brother Humphrey work the land to survive. It means that people can work not only in the office, but they can work in nature as well. For example, being a farmer, this thing will change mindset of children that if they grow up, they will not judge people who work as farmers because of their salary, but they will thank to them because they have maintained nature through their course as farmer. For instance, they cultivate the ground, they manure plants, and they also irrigate rice fields. Indeed, farmers in the village only can get low salary, but there are also farmers who can get higher salary than a director. It depends on their mission as farmers as well. Commonly, people are not proud of their job as farmer because they just work for nature. Frankly, they have not realized that they are heroes in this life. For example, their plants can produce fruit, vegetable, and so on. Those things are needed by people around the world to survive, to make their body still breathe, and to maintain their generation. Besides that, they also increase prosperity in their country. Their country no longer import rice or fruit from another country because farmers can produce rice, fruit, vegetable that in large numbers. Even their country can export the basic needs to another country. Moreover, children will get point about thankfulness. They will deeply thank to God because He has created nature for human. Thankfulness will make children happy what they have in the present time. Thankfulness comes if children know the reason about something that they neglect before, but it gives them many advantages to their life. To get thankfulness is a bit hard. It needs extra effort. Sometimes people have to lose something from their life. Through the children of the New Forest, thankfulness is depicted and explained implicitly. Without losing something, children can get thankfulness in their life because they have already known that thankfulness is a thing that they have to be owned. In addition, nature also has an important part for a country. A prosperity can be estimated with its agriculture. For example, country can be estimated as a prosperous country if that country can fulfill completely the food and so on for the citizen without importing from another country. It cannot be got or obtained as easy as people think because it needs process. For example, in a country, there are some people who are irresponsible if they destroy nature further, so the government must make some regulations to keep nature. A beautiful nature in a country also can increase the income of country. For example, country offers a beautiful beach, high mountain or park that they have. It can grab foreigners to visit that country in order to enjoy the scene. Unfortunately, some people lack the beauty of nature that their country have because that their country has. Some people write the beauty of nature that their country have because they just want the advantage of it for themselves. For example, there is a beautiful beach because it has many kinds of fish. Then they bomb it to get a lot of fish in an instant way. The relation among prosperity, nature, and country cannot be separated because it influences each other. According to John M. Mackenzie, Marriatt's preoccupation with the educative qualities of the natural world echoes a widespread Victorian fascination. The Victorians were enthralled by the natural world. As the 19th century progressed, they extended and deepened romantic responses by seeing nature as a prime region of scientific endeavor, as an arena for establishing human dominance through the creation of pattern and design, and as a source of moral training for the young. Indeed, it is through the pattern and design of hunting that Edward and his brother Humphrey established their human dominance in the New Forest. The reader and the characters Edward and Humphrey are educated about natural world. For instance, the novel asserts that a stag is called a brocket until he is 3 years old. After 5 years, he becomes a hart royal. Similarly, Marryat describes in great detail the skills and the process of hunting. It serves to educate the readers as well as Edward. Now, Edward, we are going after a fine stag. If we can find him, which I doubt not, but the difficulty is to get within shot of him. Recollect that you must always be hid, for his sight is very quick. Never be heard, for his ear is sharp, and never come down to him with the wind, for his sense is very fine. Then you must hunt according to the hour of the day. At this time he is feeding. 2 hours hence he will be lying down in the high fern. Children indirectly can know some techniques of hunting. It is the natural world that predicts and nurtures the growing spirits of both these young heroes who develop from children into young adulthood. There are many actions implicitly that nature is a part of life. For example, Edward goes to work to head her stone through the forest. Jacob Armitage teaches the 4 children of Beverly to do some things with nature. He teaches Edward Beverly how to hunt. He also teaches Humphrey how to farm, and he teaches Edith and Alice how to cook. Thus, activities concerned with nature. It can be concluded that all activities of human cannot be separated with nature. There is a statement that people is born by nature and they will die in nature as well. The point is, children can learn anything from nature. For example, they can learn the circulation of nature and also all aspects about nature. They can get the point from the children of the New Forest. Edward, Humphrey, Edith, and Alice can be safe because of the New Forest. They are safe by nature, thus become a reason why nature is such an important thing that must be noticed by humans. Second thing is about human role in this life. People have each a role to live and to defend themselves from many things in this world. The readers get a point that each people who live in this world have different roles. It depends on skills and interests, but it is limited by gender as well. Children totally can know about who they are. Whatsoever they need and want, it can be reached by them, but one thing they should know that all things are limited. It is a must for them to adjust what kinds of activity are proper for them or what kinds of thing that they need. In the age of children, they are very curious about many things and they want to get them have them, even they want to own them completely. It is okay for them because they can develop themselves and improve their skills and interests. However, through the children of the New Forest, children will realize about their role in this life. If children know about their role, of course, they can get success when they are adult. The role is divided by gender. Honestly, in the modern era, gender is not too important because freedom has come out in many aspects of life, such as workplace. People endeavor themselves to maximize everything they can do, but frankly, they seem greedy. They place a thing in a wrong place and it seems like not effective if people are just free in many aspects without thinking more before doing it, before doing that thing. Because all people have strength and weakness because of gender. For instance, women cannot build a home in a good way because that job is just for men. Indeed, they can do it, but the result will be different. In contrast, men cannot do what a woman usually do. Besides, children get the point that people have each role and it is limited by gender. They also get the point about being greedy is a bad characteristic because it means people do not accept who they are and they just want more thing that it has not been experienced by them. The point is, common people do not satisfy what they have owned, felt, and had. They need new things. Indeed, people can invent or discover new things. That is why their life becomes easier. However, they have to notice about human role as well, because if they break that, it means that they defy God. The representation of gender in the Children of the New Forest is unsurprising, since gender ideology in the novel reflects the socio-political context of the period in which it was written. In the Children of the New Forest, following traditional Victorian gender ideology, the male protagonists are presented as being physically strong, courageous, brave, and proud, while the female characters are gentle, kind, and weaker and in need of male protection. Indeed, work is gendered, and Alice and Edith Beverly are domesticated, while Edward hunt wild cattle and deer, and Humphrey farm. Their skills are got from an old forester, Jacob Armitage, who saves them from the influence of civil war. Children can understand that skills have to be trained even if they have learned their skills. They can train their interest from someone who is expert. Skills in this life are needed because having skills can defend people from bad and dangerous things in this life. They will try to find out their skills. If they found it, they will ask someone to train their skills. Even in moments of crisis, the Beverly sisters are not expected to do any work that are considered being masculine. For example, when the cottage has to be barricaded within the space of few hours in order to protect the Beverleys from the onslaught of robbers, neither Alice or Edith help with the barricading but significantly continue with their domestic chores of cooking and cleaning. In the novel, they do not go to war to fight. Moreover, Alice and Edith rarely leave the confines of the cottage, and their work and personalities are less sharply defined in the novel. Edward's two sisters are dependent on their brothers, and neither Alice nor Edith is given a viewpoint on the country's political crisis. The passivity of Marryat's female characters, who have very little agency, reflects the patriarchal ideals of Victorian society. In effect, if people are in an urgent situation, they will do anything and optimize everything that they have. Even commonly, they break the rules. Through this novel, the readers will conclude that it is better for them to keep their role in a good way because if it is broken, it will danger themselves. Many people cannot adapt rapidly in different conditions that they are in. Therefore, they have to keep their role, although they are in the worst condition that forces them to do more. The third thing is about the role of family. Children can understand that family is such a wide thing in this life because family have a big role in their life. There are many values that family give for their children. For example, family teach children to be pious, and family will always remind and advise them if they do a wrong thing. Perhaps their family, notably parents, are always anger if their children do wrong thing. Usually, children misunderstand about that. They guess that their parents do not care and love them anymore. That is totally wrong. They do that because they care and they love with them. There is no reason for parents to hate their beloved children. For example, children use a knife because they want for example, children use a knife because they want to assist their parents to cut vegetables in order to make soup. They almost cut their fingers and their parents get angry because they are worried that their children will get a bad thing and a wound. Children are angry because children are angry with their parents because they feel their parents forbid and refuse their help. In the right time when children grow up, they will utterly understand why their parents forbid them and refuse their help in the past time. The first value that is given for children in his family can be a role model for children. For example, a son will imitate his father in doing and finishing everything. For example, they pattern the way their father eats the way their father communicates with his friend, and the way their father asks something. It also happens to a daughter. She will imitate what her mother does, what her mother says, and what her mother likes. That is why usually children will have same hobby with their parents in average. The influence of family is bigger than the influence of society because children have long time to stick together with their family rather than with their friends. For example, if parents do a bad thing, it can be a quarrel between both in front of their children. And children see their action, they will imitate immediately. It means parents give a bad example to their children accidentally. Their thing will always influence children up to they are adult. From that example, the bad impact for children is children can become unruly and they will be easily angry if all things are not proper with their house. Children also can share many things with their family, for example, their happiness, sadness, even their problems. If they have many problems of life, even they petrify because they do not know what things that they should do to solve their problems, and they tell to their parents. For sure, they can get the main solution for their problems. Parents always listen to what their children say, notably when children complain about something. After listening to parents' endeavor to give and check that thing with the best thing, although parents have to sacrifice their precious thing such as property. Therefore, the role of family is important. What is really evident in the novel is the importance of the role of family. The Beverly's children become sad and lonely in a society after losing their father. Then Edward, his eldest son, become the eldest members of family. He tries to have a leadership like the sort his father has, trying to attain his father's sword and keeping it as if it were a part of his whole of his body. It means that he keeps on the leadership that his father has in the past. The story leads the readers to get the meaning that they have to respect their father before losing their father. The role of father is to give the best example of life through his behavior. There is no reason to not respect their father, even though their father is not perfect in several aspects, such as their body. After dies, children can imitate what their father does in the past time. Children make believe that their father is their hero. Edward and his brother Humphrey share the roles of the family. Edward is to care for the national interest and the British society, and Humphrey is to farm and manage the home, while Edward is far from home. They even know Jacob, the old forester, like their grandfather, and the person who gives them the boost to continue their lives, and Jacob sometimes introduces them as his grandchildren, while it is known for decades that Jacob has neither children nor grandchildren, as Mother Grandpa says in his children's literature. Frederick Marryat, The Children of the New Forest, for instance, begins when the four Beverly children are orphaned during the English Civil War and follows their adventures as they learn to live hidden deep in the forest. Having been deprived of their family, the children almost immediately seek to recreate it. The eldest boy and girl, Edward and Alice, become their father and mother, while Humphrey and Edith play the roles of their children, gradually growing to maturity by following their eldest example. They even pretend that their old servant Jacob is the grandfather, ostensibly to give them a credible identity when they go to town, but clearly demonstrating their desire to reconstruct a family. Through the story, children get the point that if their parents die, it is a must for them to share their roles in the family like Beverly's children too. Because if they ignore to each member of family, they will get a misery. For example, their relationship will break and it will bring a bad impact for the next generation of family. The worst thing is they will fight each other. The reason why they fight each other are because they do not care about their family and they just rever, rever their contentment without considering the impact itself. The Children of the New Forest gives some examples through the main characters in that novel. For instance, it gives the way how to deal with each members of family in keeping the role of family, although there are many obstacles that they have to face, and it is must be done without sacrificing their family because they have known their family is their true happiness. Fourth thing is about learning from the past time. Learning from many things that happened in the past time can guide people to get a great success in the future. Usually people just forget about many things in the past time, especially for bad ones. They contend that their bad experience just make them so painful. They do not want to try remembering those memories in the present time because if they try to remember even for a moment, their bad experiences will make them cry again and make them want to commit suicide. However, it is a big mistake that common people do. Through this novel, children can understand that learning many things from the past time is very useful for their life in the future. They do not have bad things that happened in the past time anymore because the bad things are also very useful. Those can become a guide to not do the same mistake in the present time and in the future. It also can reform them to be better persons. It is not easy to learn something from the past time because, of course, it needs extra energy and thought to make an acceptance that perhaps experience from the past time really hurt and it can be full of pain. However, it must be done if people want to get the great things in this life. They can change their mindset of their pastime that whatsoever happens in the pastime, it is a part of their life and it has been predestined by God to happen to them. The best way is they accept all the bad things from the pastime and learn the mistakes. Learn from the mistakes. After that, they can train themselves to make their life better than before. For example, they become more patient, more honest, and so on. In the contrast, people who had their experience from the past time, especially the bad ones, will always be trapped in sadness and remorse. Their life will not go on for sure, and they cannot keep moving forward as well. Their life is empty and it doesn't have meaning anymore. Not only people must learn about the bad ones from the past time, but they can also learn the good ones from the past time. It can make their life better because they have known how to behave, how to reach, and how to achieve their wishes and dreams. For example, they succeed in the past time, but they do not be satisfied. They do not be satisfied. They have to keep learning and improve all things that they have achieved. It is a wrong thing if people satisfy immediately because they have achieved what they want without trying to do the best again. Maybe it will make their life become low again because they ignore all things that can make them succeed. A success is not estimated by how much people can reach their dreams, but how much process they have been through. Something which is so important in the process of England's becoming a world the power is the learning. The country attempts step by step. This kind of learning is displayed in the character of Edward Beverley. He is at first a rash and unthoughtful person, a characteristic which prevails in both sides. Then Edward becomes more unthoughtful, and in that case, the country attains glorious achievements. This novel provides and shows many examples of the importance of learning. Even it becomes a dominant point in the whole story of the children of the New Forest. The most important thing from this point is children will not even will not ever regret what happens in the past time, but they will thank for everything that happens to them because they realize that good incident and bad incident bring many values of life that it will not never get from the other things. For example, they will not get the value of life like that in the class. Perhaps their teachers give a book which contains many values of life, or they explain about value of life in front of the class. To be honest, those are not effective because children just know the theory. It is also good for them, but the best thing between practicing and knowing is practicing because they seem knowing the real situation in which values of life exist. Fifth thing is about perfection. There is no perfect thing in this world, even a king makes a mistake as well. Children will understand that people who live in this world have strength and weakness as well. If there is someone who confesses that he is perfect, it is obviously not true, because it means that he doesn't know about himself. He just sees people's mistake, whereas he also has wrongness as long as he lives. Children also will understand that they have to accept who they are. They do not have to try to be a perfect person, because although they maximize and optimize their strength to be a perfect one, they are still not perfect because they refuse what God has given for them. For example, common people always think that the others who have higher position than them are perfect. They have to be honored, and what they say is the only true statements. Children will get the point that perfection has only God, not human. In the daily activity, they will not honor the other person too much. They respect the others, but they do not divide them. Children also will get lesson about equality. If children have a deficiency, they are shy because they will not motivate themselves that they have to go on in this life, and they do not give up easily because there is no difference among them. Some people always feel that they are imperfect. They always see their inability. Therefore, they are shy and refuse people to get closer with them. That kind of people will never get the true happiness because they feel that all things in this world are full of imperfection. Besides that, their life cannot improve rapidly. They want to get something, but they are just hesitant. They are afraid that people will dislike them, refuse them, and underestimate them. For example, if they are invited in a party, they will be confused for sure. They do not know which one clothes that they have to wear, and they are so full of fear. They do not want people hate them. They want to make people keep stay away with them because they guess it is the best decision to make them comfortable. They will grow up as a doubtful person even up to they die. They long for something that it can make them being confident enough. Children will get the point that perfection is not a crucial thing as long as they know how to make the best thing in this life. People cannot judge the others that they are perfect and the others are not perfect because perfection is a subjective thing and there is no standard or assessment about that, except it is about score in an exam. There is no grade in perfection. Therefore, people can explore themselves freely as long as they do not break the rules. They can keep the rules because the rules tie them in this life, but they can also express themselves in many ways. For example, their hobby, their favorite, and so on. Children also will know that people are created by God with perfection without any exception. It means that all people are perfect in their own way. There are many benefits about that thing. For example, people who accept who they are will get the joy in their life for sure, because they have confessed all things in their life as the best things ever. Through the children of the New Forest, children get many points of perfection, and it is also good for them because when they grow up, they will not imitate their idol too much. They will be happy in their own way without changing special part of them that it has given by God. Based on the novel, children will understand about conflict between monarchy men and parliamentary men. They fight each other because they blame each other. Monarchy men contend that parliamentary men are wrong because they have executed their king. In the contrast, parliamentary men contend that monarchy men are wrong because the king is too absolute. If they unite and realize that both sides have wrongness and rightness, of course it will bring good effect for Britain people. They do not become two sides that always fight each other, but they will give a good effect to each other. Children will get point that if all people can unite, of course the world becomes harmony and full of peace as well. In the contrast, if people always hate each other, blame each other, even deem each other as enemy, it will cause the Third World War. Children will try to avoid many forms of conflict because it will lead to the worst things. Conflict will give the bad impact to another group of people who do not know about the conflict. They are just victims from people who are egoistic or selfish. They just think about their contentment without thinking more the bad impact that they bring to the society. A conflict will bring another conflict if it is not finished. There is no reason that a conflict must be kept. A conflict comes out when there is a problem. It can be problem from society, problem from family, or even problem from people from people themselves. If there is a problem, it is a must for them to solve the problem because it will influence another aspect of life, such as togetherness, happiness, and peacefulness. The unity between the monarch and parliament is shown through the characters of the children of the New Forest. Edward Beverley is at first a rash and inexperienced character who knows himself a royal subject to the king. Then he learns some new lessons that the king has some mistakes as well. His conversation with Mr. Hartstone and Patient Hartstone's kindness makes him conclude that all the people on the parliamentary side are not what he thinks, and he performs his own opinions about them. His love for Patient and stating his love to her is a good and typical representation of the sweetness of the unity in the country. Edward and Patient are to live a good life in the future. Patient here is a name of person, yeah. The mistakes of parliamentarian is they get so rash and unthoughtful with the behavior, and he makes a mistake and it is to make himself too absolute. 16 is about religion. Through the children of the New Forest, the readers will understand that religion is very important thing in this life as well, because religion will get people to the right path. People who have religion will get many benefits. For example, people will recognize God, people will know about themselves, and people also can respect all creatures in this world. If there are some people who confess themselves as religious person but they do opposite things from what their religion teach, it means they just insult their religion. They have to be careful with religious things because those are not the relation between people with another people with the other people, but the relation between people with their God. There are many religions in this world. All religions also teach rightness and the way how to live in this world. Each religion confesses that there are two religions and the others are wrong. That is why religion is a sensitive thing. Besides, religion can make people happy because they can get peacefulness in their heart. Religion also can bring people to the conflict. There is no wrong thing in the religion, but the followers who cause the conflict. They do not tolerate to the other religion, although the others do not begin the conflict, such as underestimating and disfiguring. Those things then become one reason or some reasons why people do not tolerate and they choose to fight each other without thinking more about the lesson of their religion, that they have to respect the other religion as long as they respect them, but they seem refusing the lesson from their religion. Children will understand that religion is needed in this life in order to guide them to the right path and make them get closer to the God. Children will endeavor to tolerate people who have different religion with them because it will be useful for them rather than they had with the other religions. All people know that one of the causes of the English Civil War is religion. England is a Christian country, but the differences between the branches of Christianity and their followers lead to the conflict. These conflicts have started from the time of King Henry VIII, but it has remained silent since the modern policies of Queen Elizabeth I. From that time on, most of the English people decided to be Protestants. When King Charles I ascended the throne, he explicitly declares that he is a Catholic. This can lead to the conflicts among nations whose ideas are Protestant. Through the children of the New Forest, children will notice their religion. They will begin to understand their religion completely. There are many ways how children know and recognize their religion completely. First, they can investigate the influence of their religion in their real life. It also happens when religion becomes a cause of English Civil War. Children can conclude that in their time the influence of religion is very strong, so that it causes England civil war. Second is they can ask the truth to someone who knows much better about religion. If monarchy men and parliamentary men understand and ask each other about their religion, of course there is no conflict because of religion. The less education that readers can get through the children of the New Forest is about faith. fate relates to the future. People in this world always pay attention to their fate to their fate in the future. They will endeavor to get the best fate in their life, even though they must cope with many obstacle things to get it. Honestly, to reach that is so hard, and in the beginning, common people will give up, and they think that it is impossible to be rich. However, people who believe in their own dream will get the best fate ever because they have been through many obstacle things and they also succeed in solving those obstacles. There is no regret if they fail for many times because it will train them to be tougher and stronger. They realize that there is no great thing that can be achieved easily. That is why they just go on without paying attention on the obstacles. If people always think about the obstacles, of course they will be depressed because all things will seem so hard and impossible to be solved. Common people only want to get their desire in an instant way. They neglect about the process, whereas the process will lead people to get new experience in reaching their dreams and their wishes. Although The Children of the New Forest is a classical novel, but it discusses about the importance of making the best fit. It is like an advice to the readers, or for the readers, that uh, especially children that fat can be trained. It just depends on themselves. Frankly, people have to know what they like in this life, or they can make someone or figure become their example to get the best fat. For example, someone who has inability can be one of great persons in this world, so they can learn some tips from him. Through reading this novel, the readers will realize that all beautiful things in this world can be owned by them. If they know those things are their fate for sure, it is hard to be gone. However, the point of the lesson is children can improve their skills and they can also develop their interest to get their best fate. Some people in this life just do nothing because they believe that God has given the best fate for them. They do not improve their skills and they ignore their needs in this life. Besides that, they just hand all things to God. It is utterly wrong. Indeed, God has given the best things for human, but if people do not maximize themselves, of course, they will get nothing. God has given the best thing for human, and a duty of human is to achieve that faith with their own way. That way has been given by God as well, so that people must find out that way. It can be passed on their experience and their knowledge. There are many relations among experience, knowledge, and faith. For example, their experience can be got because of their knowledge. They know everything so that they have experience about that thing as well because they practice their knowledge. Eventually, it will get people to get the best faith. And no novel, The Children of the New Forest, will bring children to get the main point that all things depend on themselves. There is no reason to feel that they are too weak or too small to reach their big dreams because everything is possible. They will realize that to be great person in this world need passion and enthusiasm. If they just give up on who they are now, it is big mistake. For example, if they are poor children and they accept their fate just like that, of course their life will not be better than before. Besides that, children will understand that depending on the others are not always good because it will influence their skills and their destiny. Some people always depend on the others because they contend that the others are smarter than them. And they also contend that the others are expert in many things in this life. They will get a fruitlessness in this life. Perhaps in the beginning they will feel happy because the others assist their duty. They do not understand about the impact of it. People who usually finish their duty by themselves will not completely the way to solve the same duty if they face the same things in the future. In the contrast, people who usually depend on the others will feel confused if they have to solve or finish the same things in the future. That is why being independent is better to get the best fit. Based on the novel The War in England, the French shows that they never want to they never want the success of the English monarch. The Spanish too doesn't prefer to help very much. Children will get the point that if British people do not depend on French and Spanish in finishing the war, of course they do not waste time to make their country full of peacefulness. So, through the children of the New Forest, children can get many educations. For example, children can know the importance of nature, human role, the importance of the role of family, rolling from the pastime, profession, religion, and children can also know about the benefits of being independent. Those things are very useful for children in the present time and in the future as well, because besides children get entertainment from the children of the New Forest, they can also get those lessons indirectly. They can practice those things in the real life. For example, children get the point about being independent from this novel. They know that depending something on the others is not a good way for themselves. Indeed, children do not do it directly, but getting that point means that this novel stimulates and motivates children to be independent. This novel is very useful for children especially. It is true that this novel tells about civil war, for example, the cause of civil war, but the main characters of the novel are children. They are Edward, Edith, Humphrey, and Alice. Therefore, this novel is also aimed for children. Well, everyone, that's all about an essay, yeah. And thank you very much for joining this time. And we close our meeting today by reciting Hamdalah together. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. See you on the next topic, yeah.